Hey everyone, today I'm going to be answering a pretty common question, which is how much harder is A category racing? As a pretty solid B racer, I do race A sometimes, so I have some experience in A, and here I'm going to be covering how much harder the race actually is compared to a B category race. This is a crit city race with category enforcement, a race that I have done a ton in B, and this is actually my first time doing it in A. In most A races, the main difference between an A race and a B race is how many attacks there are throughout the race. The pace throughout the race normally stays around the same. Sometimes you'll see A racers finish around a minute faster, maybe 40 seconds faster. So when riders are not attacking or chasing breakaways, they're usually just chilling, like you can see in this clip that I have going right here. I'm doing around 2 to 3 watts per kg because most of the group right now, they're just chilling because no one's really attacking right now. And that's how some A races go when you have a smaller group. And there are attacks throughout the race that are extremely powerful. And if you miss the attack, you will get dropped and the race is pretty much over for you. Depending on what type of rider you are, as a B category rider, the jump to A racing is not going to be as hard as others, because if you have a really strong 1 to 2 minute power, you will be able to stay with A races. One tip I do have for those who are looking to start racing in A, who are currently racing in B, is to use the draft wisely and follow all attacks. Another thing that you should probably do is find smaller races that have around 10 to 15 riders. Those will probably be easier and they'll help you get ready to race in bigger races in A. The hard thing about A racing is you could either be racing pros or other racers like yourself who are just regular Zwift racers trying to race at the highest level. Throughout Zwift, there are a lot of Zwift pros who have like 6 watts per kg FTPs and 18 watt per kg sprints. In most races, you will not run into those people, but if you see an A category race with like 30 or 40 riders in it, you know that you should probably stay away from that race unless you are looking for a really competitive race. Some competitive races for A racing that you would want to avoid if you are someone who is just starting in A are the KISS Racing Series or the O Crit double race. So how much harder is A racing really? In the average B race that I do, I average around 4 watts per kg, 4.1 because I'm a lighter rider. And in the A races, I average 4.4 watts per kg. The speed was not actually that hard. You can see here that we're going around 26, 27 miles per hour, which is around the same, if not slower, than some B races. Because B races are overall pretty steady with some attacks here and there, but A races are where riders really start trying attacks and breakaways. It's a lot more tactics involved. Looking at the races that I've done previously, I do normally see that the A category riders typically finish around a minute faster depending on the length of the race. For this particular race, we finished 40 seconds faster than the B riders, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the speed of A races. Another key difference between A races and B races are the finishes. The finishes are typically extremely fast. Riders normally do around 6 to 7 watts per kg in the final minute before unleashing their 14 watt per kg sprints. And in order to really contest in A sprints, you will need a 13 or 14 watt per kg sprint. This will depend on how heavy you are and how many watts that actually are, because you could be a 100 kilogram rider doing 10 watts per kg versus a 35 kilogram rider doing 500 watts, that being 14 watts per kg. In this clip here, watch how pretty much all the riders attack here doing around 9 to 10 watts per kg, and the pace stays pretty high until the finish here. So we're about a minute and a half out from the finish, and right when you hit the cobbled climbs, everyone just starts to attack. And you can see here that I'm getting slightly dropped, and I have to basically sprint to catch back up to the group. As I mentioned before, the A riders are a lot more tactical and know Zwift a lot better than some B riders, so they will plan their attacks and know exactly when to attack, how hard to attack, and how long they'll be able to hold the effort for. So in this race, A rider actually sprinted from the cobbles and ended up winning the race. When or if you're just getting started with A racing, you likely won't have any energy to sprint in the finishing sprint. As you can see here, I barely have enough energy to sprint, and it's more of just giving it everything I have to see if I can gain a few more places. To wrap this up, A racing can be a really big jump or a really small jump depending on the races you choose to do and what kind of rider you are. Most B riders who have a strong sprint and 1 to 2 minute power will be able to race A pretty easily, while others may not.